Hello everyone, so let me introduce myself first. My name is Sekar Aqila Salsabilla, and today in this video I'm going to present you and explain to you about the organizational technology. So I'm sure that you guys all know about the technology, like the phone that you use, the internet, the laptop. But what is technology in organizations? Okay, so organizational technology is the sum total of man-made contrivances or developed processes that create new goods and services delivered by organizations. It includes electronics, software, documents, new techniques, or any combination thereof used in the delivery of services. So it is more basic, it is more general. So technology in organization is general technology, like the idea, how you manage the people inside the organization, how you manage the money, how you communicate with each other, how you process everything in your organization. It is all called technology. That is so basic. After you know what is organizational technology, now we move to the components of organizational technology. There are three components of organizational technology. The first one is things or objects include processes, tools, and equipment used to transform inputs into products and or services. The second is activity or processes that use into production methods. The third, knowledge that needed to developing and operating tools, production or special method to produce goods and services. Next is the organization as open system for transforming inputs into outputs. As you can see in the picture, there is a box. Just imagine the box as the organizations. So we put the inputs into the box, means the organizations. And in the box, there is a transformation process. Anything that we use in transformation process with or without the aid of tools called technology. And after the transformation process, the raw material from the inputs can be the outputs. Now we're moving to types of technology and tree typology. The typology suggests the dimension of difference that were measured and precisely producing data that allowed contingency theories to investigate how technology types relate to measures of organizational performance, social structure, and environmental factors. So there are three typology in here. First is Woodward's typology by John Woodward. Second is Perrow's typology by Charles Perrow, and Thomson typology by James D. Thomson. So the first one, I'm going to explain about the Woodward's typology. Woodward's typology. Woodward surveyed 100 manufacturing organizations operating in the vicinity of South Essex, England. Woodward measured each organization's relative level of firm performance, average span of control, number of management levels, degree of centralization in decision-making practice, and management style. So, her analysis showed that the structure was related to performance after all, but only when the types of core technology used by the organizations was taken into account. So the research team was amazed when the 100 surveys from manufacturing organizations in the South Essex region indicated a direct statistically significant relationship between the type of structure and the level of performance. A relationship between the structure and performance surfaced only by introducing an extra variable, like unit technology, mass production, and process production. So, Group 1, small batch and unit technology or unit production. So, all technologies that produce one or several products simultaneously, such as artwork and construction projects. Successful companies with unit technology reflects organic structure. Group 2, large batch and mass production. Technology in assembly line operations such as automobile and consumer electronics plant that produce standardized identical products based on routines and standard procedure. Successful company with mass technology reflects mechanistic structure. So it is different with the group 1. Group 1 using the organic structure and group 2 using the mechanistic structure. Group 3 is continuous process production. Technology at ongoing, non-discrete, capital-intensive production processes that require minimal manual involvement, such as chemical plants and oil refineries. Successful companies in this category reflect organic structure and more levels of management. So the group 3 is the same as group 1, they both using the organic structure. Woodward described the technical complexity of a manufacturing process as the degree of its mechanizations. So as you can see in the picture, the unit technology is the least complex and the continuous process production is the most, because process production using more mechanization than the unit technology. Unit and continuous process technology required non-routine behavior, while mass production was better served by the mechanical structures characterized by routines and procedures. Development of Woodward's theory. So Brawijaya is trying to combine Woodward's theory and Galbraith's theory. So Woodward said that structure directly relate to performance because there is a technology there. So the complexity of technology can affecting the structure. After that, it can affect the performance. Galbraith said that technology not directly relate to structure. So the demand of communication can affecting the complexity of technology and it can affecting the structure. So Brawijaya is trying to combine the two theories, became like this. The complexity of technology can affecting the demand of communication. So if the technology more complex, the demand of communication is increasing. Because of that, it can affecting the complexity of structure, and because all of the relations there, it can affecting the performance. The pro and the contra of Woodward's typology. So John Woodward's study challenged classical management's belief in the existence of universal principle, one set of golden management rules to create effective organizations. The study showed the usefulness of the comparative methods in detecting relationship among organizational characteristics rather than studying a single case. So the model provides a framework to analyze manufacturing organization and to detect similarities and differences using unit, batch, and mass and flow production as shared language. So that is the pro, but there is a contra too in Woodward's typology. So the typology applies only to manufacturing organization. So what about the service organization? It must be different by the technology that they use, by the structure, it must be different. By the late 1960s, the American academic James D. Thompson overcame a major limitation of Woodward's earlier typology by including both manufacturing and services organizations. Technology, an important factor in contingency theory, assumed that the type of technology determined an organization's most effective internal structure. Thompson based his typology on a 2x2 matrix by comparing the level of standardization of inputs and outputs against the level of standardization in transforming processes. The analysis takes place at the organization's unit level. The typology includes three categories or three classifications. The first one is long-link technology, a production processes consisting of a fixed sequence of steps to transforming standardized inputs into standardized outputs. Both Woodward's mass and flow production technology fell under this category. Examples are steel and chemical plants. So, as you can see in the picture, you can put the inputs into B first, after that A, after that D, and the last one is C. It can be like that, so it must be in order. The second one is mediating technology, characterized by a standardized transformation process and unique inputs and outputs. Service providers deliver unique services to unique clients based on a predefined delivery process. This technology often link partners in an exchange that help them to locate appropriate parties to conduct their transactions. Example are mediators such as banks. So just imagine the mediators is banks. The client A is the one that have the money. He want to make a deposito, so he go to the bank, put the money in the bank, make a deposito. And client B is businessman and he need the money to developing his business. So he go to the bank, he is making a debt, so he got that money to develop his business. After that, he has to pay back to the bank with the interest. So the client B got the benefits from that. Client B can develop his business, and client A also got the benefit of that. Client A got the deposito interest. I'm sure that client A and client B don't know each other. The client B doesn't know that he is using the client A money. The third one is intensive technology. Combine a non-standard transformation process with unique inputs and outputs. This technology focuses on the coordination of experts and pooling their expertise to create a unique outcome. Example as our hospital. So the resources A, B, C, and D. Just imagine the A is the doctor, the general doctor. The B is the bone expert. The C is X-ray expert. And the D is the nurse. So the inputs is the patient that get injured. The doctor doesn't know what happened to the patient, so the patient have to take photos in X-ray expert first to make sure that which bones that broke, something like that. So after that, the X-ray expert give the photo to the doctor who can analyze what patient suffered from. Maybe his leg is broken or his arm is broken. So the expert do the transformation process into the patient, means that the recovery. After that, became the output. The output is the patient can go back to the normal life. So Thomson continued his research into the type of coordination mechanism required to link multiple units and found that different mechanisms were required when units use different technology types. The first one is pool test interdependence. Units that use mediating technology lead to pool interdependence. Progress by one unit is independent of the progress of other units. The demand for coordination is minimal. Rules and standard procedures provide enough information to align activities. The second one is sequential test interdependence. Tests are performed in a sequential order wherein the progress of a worker earlier in the process determines the progress of workers down the line. The demand for coordination to prevent slowdown is greater than for pool test interdependence. Sequential test interdependence is related to the long link technology. Pool test interdependence is related to mediating technology. And the third is reciprocal test interdependence. The scope of a test is too large for one unit. Units must work together simultaneously to produce the desired result. Information must flow between the involved units during the execution of the test to harmonize their efforts. This relationship, the most complex of the three test interdependence, requires mutual adjustment as coordination mechanism. Thomson proposed structuring organizational hierarchies on the basis of his three test interdependencies. In Thomson's view, the intensity of coupling different work tasks determine the kind of coordination required. Work groups with similar coordination mechanism need to be grouped to determine the way units within the organization are clustered. Work tasks with reciprocal interdependence should be grouped at the lowest hierarchical level. Tasks linked by sequential interdependence, medium and medium, because the separation of operational groups in the hierarchy. Tasks exhibiting both interdependencies should be clustered at the highest level of. So Thomson typology is better than the Woodward's typology because Thomson typology applies to service as well as to manufacturing organization. So Thomson categorizes coordination types and explain their role based on the organization's work process. The last one is Perrow's typology. The American sociologist Charles Perrow developed a classification scheme based on the knowledge required to operate technology. Technology is an important factor in contingency theory. It assumed that the type of technology determines an organization's most effective structure and success in the market. Perrow used two dimensions to create his typology. There are task variability that refer to the number of exceptions that a worker encounters in his workday, and task analyzability refer to the degree search activity is required to solve a problem. So the subordinate in task analyzability is ill-defined and well-defined. Ill-defined is the task that hard to analyze, and well-defined is the task that easy to analyze. And in variability there are two subordinate too. There's many exceptions and few exceptions. The four categories from Perrow's are routine, craft, engineering, and non-routine. The first one is routine. Routine characterized by the lack of exception of its depth of comprehension. Traditional manufacturing technologies such as the assembly line belong to this category. Craft, characterized by its lack of exceptions and unpredictable outcomes that are difficult to analyze. Construction work, that demands the drafting of new design to resolve building problems in an example of applied craft technology. The third is engineering, characterized by many exceptions and its depth of comprehension. Standard and accepted methods are available to provide the solutions to problems. The fourth is non-routine, characterized by many exceptions and poor comprehension. Problems appear frequently with no existing solution. Routine and engineering, they both in well-defined and analyzable table. So routine and engineering using more logic and it's more systematically. Craft and non-routine is ill-defined and hard to analyze because they use intuition and also the experience. So the routine and engineering, when they having a problem, they can solve it just by read the manual book or something like that. But the craft and non-routine more using their intuition in their work, so it is more guesswork. Engineering and non-routine are many exceptions because the task is not usual, but craft and non-routine is few exceptions because the task is common. Structural characteristic of Perrow's typology. The first one is the technology routine. The formalization is high, the centralization is high, the span of control is high, and the coordination of and controlling with tight planning and reporting. And you can read the rest in the picture and you can see. So in organization, yes it is, they have a lot of characteristic in every unit in technology. And if the task is more routine, means that the centralization is more high in that technology. As you can see in the first table, the technology is routine, and you can see that in the table, the centralization is also high. Aspects in a group structure. Amount of direction. How far a group or unit can get the freedom to decide the way to do a job. The second is power of group. How far the power should be given to a group or unit to decide goals in a job. The third one is extent of interdependence. How far a group or a unit having a dependency with other units or group in a job. And the last one is extent of coordination. How far a group or unit should be coordinated with other units. Now we are moving to the relation between technology and structure. So we are done with the typology. The first one is industry. The type of industry, it can affecting the technology and organization structure. So if the industry is manufacturing, it must be different. The technology that they use and the structure must be different than this with the service industry. So technology and size, they are affecting each other and influencing each other, and because of that relation, it can affecting the organization structure. The next is the relations between technology and complexity. So there are two pictures here: a food from fast food and food from, let's say it is from the fanciest restaurant ever. So the food from fast food, let's say the routineness is 80% because they make the same menu, they make the same food every day. The technology that they use is very low, it's 10% because everyone can do that. I mean, just read the book, the manual book. They don't need no chef to fry the chicken. They just read the manual book and they can cook that. I think everyone can cook that. So technology is low. They don't need any idea. They don't have to develop their knowledge. It's just based on the manual book because it is routine, and the complexity is also low because the technology is low. The second picture, there is a food from the fancy restaurant. So we can see, let's say the routineness is 20% because, as we know, in fancy restaurant they change the menu every day, so they're not used to make that food. The technology that they use is really high, is 40% because they need the idea, the knowledge. They must be an expert to do that. Not everyone can cook that food. It must be a chef to cook that food. And the idea, how they do the plating, how they do the chopping, it is using the high technology. And the complexity is also high because the technology that they use is high. It is, let's say it is 40%. So it's different with the fast food. Technology and formalization. So if the routineness is high, the formalization is also high. But when the routineness is low, the formalization is also low. Technology and centralizations. If the technology is low, means the routineness is high, right? So when the routineness is high, it is more centralized because the managers know how to make that food, how the workers should do their job. The managers understand about that, so the managers can make decisions what to do and what way to make the food more efficient and effective. But if the routineness is low, means that the technology that they use is high, it is more decentralized. Why? Because the manager don't have no idea what to put in that food, how long that food can be cooked, how much sugar in it. The managers don't know about that, so it is more decentralized because the one that make that food is the chef, the expert of the food. So managers do know nothing about that. So every decision that make mostly from the expert or the chef that work. The role of administration in formulating organization technology. First one is socio-cultural and power context in technology. In modernist perspective, only technical and logical that being consideration to choose what technology to use. But a different image of technology is offered by the social construction of technology perspective. Technology is constructed and used within a socio-cultural context. For example, you can see in the picture there is a nuclear there. So let's say there are two countries. There is B country and C country. B country is more powerful than the C country. So C country trying to make nuclear technology. It is more efficient and effective to protect the citizen of C country. But because of the power of the B country didn't really like the production. The country don't want to lose with the C, and then the B deciding to put a lot of pressure in the C country. Because of that pressure, the C country cannot increasing their production, so they're decreasing the production of the nuclear because that power of the B country. And the second example is from the social cultural context. So the first one is the power, the second is socio-cultural context. So like the tire in the picture that you can see. So back then people reject the new technology of the tire using the air inside, even though it is more efficient and effective, but the people back then love the oldest one because the look of the oldest one is better than the newest one, just because of the look. So not all of the technology can be used in an organization because of that context, the power and the socio-cultural context. New technology characteristic. There are three characteristics. The first one is stochastic, the second one is continuous, the third one is abstract. Stochastic means the new technology is non-determinant working. So because using a lot of computerized system, so there's something wrong or problem, the worker cannot anticipate it because they don't know what to do, because they don't really understand the computerized system. The second is continuous, means that the new technology is automatic working, so the worker just watch and controlling the machine that can organize things automatically. The third is abstract, means that the machine that used in the process is not known well by the workers. Therefore said, it is conceivable then that the introduction of information technology can make possible in the appearance of decentralization while maintaining effective centralized control over organizational operation. So I'm sure that right now in this era, all of the organization 99% do the centralization. Even though they say they are doing the decentralization, but the fact that manager or the supervisor can access all of the data of the workers and all of the job that the workers do in just one hand, in one click with the computer system, the data, everything is there. So I think it is more centralized. So in conclusion, organizational technology is everything that we use with or without the aid of tools to run the organization, to make sure the organization can run well, or everything that we use in the transformation process. I think that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm very sorry for all of the mistakes that I've made in this video. Thank you so much. See you next time.